Do you consider big tech companies as a competitor? And what is your direct competitor now?
They're all great partners. Actually, our competitor is cash. We are very clear in our role. Our role is a payment technology company. So while we are technology, but we are very focused on the payment leg. So we'll see that it'll continue to be more and more cashless as people are more and more digital. I think we can't leave home without our phone, but we can leave home without our wallet. For consumer, at the end of the day, we want you to have the best experience. It's so easy to just pick up the phone, tap here, tap there, QR here, scan there. So we constantly balance great consumer experience, but trust and security on the other side.
I'm not sure that you have heard of Thailand Scam City, something like that. Government very serious about this issue. Do you have any recommendations or can Mastercard help Thailand?
The Secret Sauce
สวัสดีครับผมเคนนักครินทร์และนี่คือ The Secret Sauce
What's your secret
สนับสนุนโดย Mastercard เมื่อพูดถึงบัตรเครดิตการ์ดหรือว่าเดบิตการ์ดผมเชื่อว่าทุกท่านจะนึกถึงแบรนด์นี้ครับก็คือ Mastercard นั่นเองแต่ว่าปัจจุบันรู้ไหมครับว่า Mastercard ไม่ได้เป็นแค่เครดิตการ์ดคอมพานีหรือบริษัทที่ออกบัตรเครดิตการ์ดอย่างเดียวอีกต่อไปหรือว่า business model เขาเปลี่ยนเขาเรียกตัวเองว่าเป็น fintech ครับหรือว่าเป็น financial technology ที่ทำเรื่อง digital payment ทำเรื่อง AI ทำเรื่อง Cybersecurity ทำเรื่อง Data แล้วก็ทำอะไรอีกหลายๆอย่างที่เกี่ยวข้องกับ blockchain วันนี้เป็นโอกาสอันดีนะครับที่เราจะได้พูดคุยกับตัวจริงเสียงจริงจาก Mastercard นะครับนั่นก็คือคุณ Winnie Wong ท่านเป็น Country Manager ของประเทศไทยแล้วก็เมียนมานั่นเองคุยกันหลายประเด็นนะครับโดยเฉพาะเรื่องของ strategy หรือ business model ที่เขาเปลี่ยนในรอบ10 ปีที่ผ่านมาเราจะได้เข้าใจ landscape มากยิ่งขึ้นว่าเขา invest เรื่องเทคโนโลยีมากน้อยแค่ไหนถ้าใครอยากรู้ว่า the future of money หรืออนาคตของเงินจะเป็นอย่างไรอนาคตของการจับจ่ายใช้สอยจะเป็นอย่างไรอนาคตของเรื่อง digital asset stable coin จะเป็นอย่างไรแล้วเราก็ยังคุยกันเรื่องร้อนที่สุดของโลกในวันนี้ก็คือเรื่องของความเสี่ยงจาก deepfake AI fraudสแกมทุกสิ่งทุกอย่างที่เกิดขึ้นในโลกของการเงินที่เป็นอันตรายมากในประเทศไทยก็มีเหตุการณ์แบบนี้เกิดขึ้นทุกวันนะครับ Mastercard มีเทคโนโลยีอะไรหรือจะเข้ามาช่วยซัพพอร์ตตรงนี้อย่างไรแล้วเรายังคุยเรื่องของการท่องเที่ยวด้วยครับเพราะว่า Mastercard เขาพยายามสนับสนุนให้คนมาท่องเที่ยวในประเทศไทยแล้วก็ใช้จ่ายมากยิ่งขึ้นโดยรวมทั้งหมดผมเชื่อว่านี่จะเป็นบทสนทนาที่ได้รับประโยชน์นะครับเพราะเป็นอินไซต์จริงๆจากตัวจริงเสียงจริงกับบริษัทที่เขามีศัตรูเบอร์หนึ่งครับนั่นก็คือเงินสดครับลองไปฟังดูครับ Winnie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
It's a pleasure to speak with you. So I think we should start this conversation by getting to know you a little bit.
Sure.
So I have heard that this is a new chapter of your career.
That's right.
At Mastercard.
That's right.
So please briefly introduce yourself and share roles and responsibility.
Sure. So thank you again for having me here, Kun Ken. It's a pleasure to be here. It's lovely to be in Bangkok. It is a new role for me with Mastercard. I am the country manager for Thailand and Myanmar. And previously, I was based in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam for 6 years. In that role, I was a country manager for Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. I have been with Mastercard for almost 12 years now. So the first few years of my role in Mastercard was in our regional office in Singapore, looking at commercial payments for Asia Pacific. So, it's been a good whirlwind and a good mix of experiences, even with Mastercard, being able to be in the regional office and then Vietnam and then here, and giving my family and I a chance to explore the culture, the people, and also the business in the different countries.
Wow, glad you like Bangkok.
Yes.
So how is it so far? I mean, the financial landscape in Thailand compared to Vietnam, Singapore, and what is your goal?
Yeah. So Thailand has been great. So last year we've had good growth with Mastercard. So Mastercard for us, obviously, we look at more from a digital payment landscape, cashless payments, right? So as you know, as a Thai, cashless payment is very prevalent.
Yes.
I think everybody is using cashless now. Even now, myself, when I'm here, I find that
PromptPay,
sometimes
QR
I don't
code.
have and I don't have cash in my wallet. PromptPay is easy,
Likewise.
right? Yes, and then cards are also there, and a lot of e-wallets are also available. So definitely the cashless trend is here and here to stay and continue to grow in Thailand. As compared to Vietnam, Vietnam has also been growing very much cashless in the last few years, exponential growth. But it's more from an emerging market. I think Thailand's a bit more matured as a market. So we'll see that it'll continue to be more and more cashless as people are more and more digital. I think we can't leave home without our phone, but we can leave home without our wallet.
Exactly.
So, this trend will continue to grow for sure. So for Mastercard, we'll continue to drive innovation in digital payments. So, I know people know us as more from a, card company.
Yes, a credit card
A
company.
credit card company, right? But actually for us, we see ourselves as more as the fintech payment enabler. Because honestly, it is the bank that issues you the card. So you are a customer of the bank, right? We are the rails and the network behind the banks that connects any bank that you choose or you work with or any partner that you have a payment tool with to the merchant, right, that you want to pay with, right? And the merchant could be in Thailand or anywhere in the world. So today we operate in more than 200 over countries. We work with more than 20 over 1,000 banks globally. So our role, actually, Mastercard is more as a network connecting.
So beyond just a credit card.
Correct. Yeah, so it's not just a credit card. In fact, it could be a credit card, it could be debit, it could be prepaid, it could be virtual, it could be physical. So when I say innovation, right, it's more about looking at what are the more choices for consumers, right? Because today, not even today, 5 years ago, you wouldn't even think about using 8 years ago, you wouldn't even think about using so much of your phone for payment, right? You say, it's your chat, it's your messaging, it's, calling somebody. Now it's really, right, everything you do on the phone, including payment, and you trust it, right? You know that if you issue a payment here, the other side will receive it. So where is that trust coming from? It is networks like us that make sure that the payment flows behind the scene, right? That when you pay a merchant, you can walk off, right? And the merchant trusts that, they will receive the payment, within the period. And if there's any issues, both of you have a right to dispute or find out or get the information, that you can trust the system. So it's very important. I feel that people don't realize, actually for us, it's the trust factor. And behind the trust factor, we have standards and rules governing, the participants in our ecosystem, the banks, the fintechs, the merchants, and all the partners. So with that, actually, it's a huge industry on its own. But for consumer, at the end of the day, we want you to have the best experience, right? That, it's so easy to just pick up the phone, tap here, tap there, QR here, scan there, So we constantly balance great consumer experience, but trust and security on the other side.
Okay.
So that keeps us very busy.
Okay, fair enough. So I think it's very interesting to talk about how did you transform your business model? I mean, you have been at Mastercard 12 years.
12 years,
So
yes.
you must seen some, transformation in this period.
Yes.
And it's very, very interesting that you can completely transform your business from a credit card to digital payment and network and building trust along the way.
Yes.
So can you share us a little bit of your, transformation?
Sure. So, and a huge part of that transformation is the whole digitalization and technology. So for Mastercard, we invest literally billions of dollars to keep up with the trend, but not only keep up, but actually also to drive the trend, right? And that's why innovation that I mentioned earlier is very, very important for us. Sometimes consumers are not aware of what they want or what they know, but it's about also us projecting and bringing it to market. But absolutely, the transformation is there. I mean, in the old days, so I'm very old. So, we have the credit card, we have that machine, that machine, and that slip of paper, right? And if the transaction is a bit, larger amount, the cashier will call the bank for an approval code. Imagine today, with the amount of transactions we do, and online, there's no way that we can do that, right? So we've totally evolved as an industry. And so everything is technology now, everything is also online, digital, with, all the securities behind it. Also for Mastercard, as I mentioned, as you also mentioned, we're not just a credit card company, we're not just a card company. In fact, we go to different forms of payment. So we obviously have the card payment, I think with most consumers understand. We have the account to account, obviously, the likes of PromptPay. Actually, behind PromptPay, the technology is actually a partnership with Mastercard through our subsidiary VocaLink. So we're the technology, and we partner very well with ITMX to bring the account-to-account technology to different countries. So obviously to Thailand, and we also support mainly other countries in the region and around the world. So really, it continues to change. Most important is, like what we said, it should be a choice that we continue to give to consumers. We want consumers to have a choice to pay anyhow you want, anywhere you want, anytime you want. That is the vision. Obviously, there are still many steps to get there. But I think with the choices that you have on hand, tap, swipe, scan, like I said, and many more, physical or otherwise, I think we're continuing to build more. So we'll continue to evolve. In fact, for us, we also bring some platforms and technologies to e-wallets to help them linking in the payment. So there are also technology that we bring because e-wallets do a lot of things, right? And some of these super apps, they pay to so many types of payment. They also connect to third party. You're able to buy a train ticket, to buy a movie ticket. So e-wallets do a lot of things. We try to be the partner to e-wallets that for any payment need, be it the actual payment itself or the technology, right? We bring it to e-wallets to make it, to make payment simpler, safer for everybody, right? Including them, because it is money at the end of the day.
I want to delve into your strategy. I mean, you mentioned earlier about e-wallet. And I think many people, when we think about e-wallet, we will think of, big tech companies, wallet. Or in Thailand, we have delivery platform that everybody tries to enter to this market. And I understand that Mastercard tried to be the backbone of this ecosystem.
That's right.
How did you figure it out?
I think for us as a company, we are very clear in our role. Our role is a payment technology company. So while we are technology, but we are very focused on the payment leg. So, so when we focus ourselves on building a technology on the payment leg, right, then any e-wallets, any partners, delivering, any app that comes in, and they can have a lot of vision doing many things, right? Chat, delivery, and all of these things. Now, their focus is on building their business, right? So for us is, as you build your business, you also need to collect. You need to pay, right? So all these online companies, huge online companies, global companies, e-com companies, right? So they're all huge, right? And they're building their merchant base, right? Tens of thousands of merchant base. They are focused on bringing enough products or the latest products to the consumers to buy, right? Now, to me, I think that's the bigger of their vision and going out to market. But that's why we partner with them and say, you do your part of the business. We support from the back end to make sure that you can receive, you can pay your merchant partners, you can receive from your consumers, you can track, you can do your reconciliation. Because there are many transactions in a day, right? Thousands and thousands of transactions in a day, if not tens of thousands in a day. How do you know who has paid you, who hasn't paid you? that's a massive operations on its own, right? So if we can bring that simplification to an online merchant, to an e-commerce merchant, to anybody and any business, I think that helps them grow their business. And then we do, the back end to make sure that you do have your money at the end of the day in the correct manner and not have to spend like thousands of man hours on reconciliation and then go, oh, I'm missing here, or collections problem. So I think it's a great partnership. I think it's an evolution, right? I think as online came up, as things went to e-commerce, and then they're like, oh, it was used to be cash on delivery. It still is cash on delivery, but I think that's getting less, right? So as it came up, again, our innovations team keep thinking, what is it that we need to do to keep doing, right? So it's it's over the years we keep refining and refining. A lot of it is very, very seamless. A lot of consumers may not know it behind the scene, but that's what we do to protect the ecosystem and continue to build trust on payment, online payment.
So do you consider big tech companies as a competitor? And what is your direct competitor now? Because you do everything.
So that's a great question. I get asked that a lot. Actually, no. I think the big tech companies, even the e-wallets, and all the payments to me, they're all great partners. They're not competitors. We work very closely with them. So your question is, who is our competitor? Actually, our competitor is cash. So that opens up the world for us, right? Because in Thailand, cash is still, slightly more than half of the transactions are still cash, right? So if you look at it that way, right, then the market is only still half there. There's still another group of business for us to collectively grow and go after. So cash is really our competitor. And we're not going after cash for the sake of going after cash. We're going after cash because there's a lot of benefits to digitalization. Most importantly is data. Data allows the banks, the governments, the partners to make a lot of decisions. It allows them to scale up. It allows them to make decisions on, for example, if there's a lot of cashless transactions in the MRT, for example, right? Now, do I need to add in certain lines or, and where have they gone besides here? Banks can then make decisions on what are the offers, what can I give you more, how can I serve you better? So a lot of information can be used on that. And then government, for example, right? When a lot more payment is on digital, they know where, the economy is growing or not growing, how are the merchants doing. I know there are a lot of hesitation about, too much data, but honestly, for country building, I think that is still there at that stage, that we still need to keep having enough data so that the governments, the partners, the banks, everybody can make better decisions as we look at stimulating the economy, stimulating the growth for everybody.
So partner with government and big tech companies are keys to building cashless society. But I want to know more about your strategy to, becoming more and more cashless society to beat cash. So what's your strategy in the next maybe few years?
Okay, so I think we have a few buckets if you look at it. So number one is to continue to support banks as banks have their own digitalization journey. So you see all the apps of the banks, and then not just apps, but they have a lot of enhancements on the apps as banks build more and more capability and more user-friendly capability within the banking apps. We continue to support the banks in their digitalization journey. So as banks look to drive more cashless within the ecosystem, we will be there with the banks, right? Then we have the non-banks. Then, like you said, is the e-commerce players, if they are new players and current players, right? So we continue again to bring the technology to drive that. We also, love to work and will continue to work with the government in driving some of these. So, for example, tourism is a big part that we are looking to drive with tourism authorities, not just only in Thailand, but also around the region and the world. Because again, there's a lot of cash being used by tourists, right? And also as you go overseas,
Yes.
right, you also think, oh, do I need to change some cash? Everybody thinks, do I need to change some cash, right? If you go
Yes.
to Japan, you change some yen, you go to Europe, you change some euros as a just in case,
Exactly.
right? But then you realize that when you go there, actually, everybody is cashless. A lot of people are cashless.
Right.
So the more we can work together as an industry, as a group, as my colleagues drive cashless overseas, right? So then the whole industry will become more and more cashless. You will realize that if you go to the US or the Europe or even Japan, Singapore, for example, you really don't need to bring cash. Like everything is either tap or scan or, anything, right? A phone, right? All the X-Pays on the phone is very, very cashless.
What challenges or what obstacles are you facing right now in terms of transition to cashless society?
I think trying to balance, so obviously the awareness, right, and the experience. We hope that, as people get more and more cashless, the first time is always a hesitation, right? It's like, and especially, I don't know about you, but when I first tried to get my parents to use online, they're like, first how to use it, is my money still there? And then they get confused, right? So that's why if you make it simpler, better, so then everybody can adopt the usage better. But secondly, so awareness, education in making sure that people, adopt and use. But secondly is to continue building the whole trust in cybersecurity. Because the minute, you get frauded once,
Yes.
your whole confidence goes, oh, I'm so worried. Like, well, will they get it? Is this the right transaction? Then you start to have a lot of doubt in your mind, right? So it's always a constant balance for us. So one of the biggest challenge is to be ahead of unwanted
Criminal.
yes, right.
Bad people.
Bad people, right? Who just wants to get your money, and as you mentioned earlier, scams and frauds are very prevalent.
And how
It's not
challenging
just
is
in
it?
Thailand.
I think it's really,
Very
really
challenging.
challenging.
Very challenging.
Right. With, AI deepfake and latest
That's right.
developments.
That's right.
I think they are, getting stronger and stronger.
That's right. That's
so
right.
what is your, strategy?
Yeah.
How is Mastercard supporting and, helping businesses and government to protect this fraud?
Yeah. So, it's a huge effort. You talk about a strategy. So one strategy for us is continue to double down on this whole cybersecurity and, safety security element. So
Do you mean
to me,
investment as well?
Investment as well. So, and I'll cover that. To me, there are two kinds, right? One is the scam and one is a fraud. Scam means intentionally, love scam. I pretend to be someone and then we chatted and then, you transfer money to me. Those are difficult because you really want to give me money, right? So those will be a lot of awareness, and I think the government is playing a lot of a role in that, in driving awareness. So one is outright scam, right? Oh, your kid is stuck somewhere and then you need, and then, so all of these are really scams, right? So those are definitely huge awareness to make people be aware. Don't download certain apps, don't go off the system. So those are scams.
Financial literacy.
Financial literacy, awareness, exactly, right? So those are very important. The other part is fraud. That means you didn't know it happened to you, right? So that's where, someone, put a transaction through, suddenly you see your statement, hey, why do I have 6 transactions that I didn't do, right? So number one, in those, we obviously have standards and rules, right? So if that happens to you, report to the bank. You can say, this is not mine. We will have we call it a chargeback process. So there's a system for them to validate and investigate, and then, we'll refund the money to you, right? So that's one part of it. The other part of it with more and more online is that, things are moving so quickly, right? So, but we have, and when I talk about payment technology and cybersecurity technology that we have a lot of solutions that we partner with banks and even e-wallets on cybersecurity. So for example, and we talked about AI and all, right? So a lot of solutions are AI-based. And there's a lot of historical and digital footprint. So the way you hold your phone, the way I hold my phone is different, Everybody is different. You may hold on the left hand, I may hold on the right hand, I may type, and because of my, the way I type, I always miss the A.
Me holding like this.
Yes.
And what about you?
I will hold this hand, right? So already it's different, right? And the angle, right? You may hold like this, someone may hold more like this.
Okay.
So we have a capability behind the scene that based on your usage and the way you use the phone, right? And if you find that there's any irregularity, even as you're using and doing transactions, there's a prompt to the bank and go, do more verification because I don't know if this is really Kun Ken. So we don't reject the transaction, but we give a prompter to the bank that says, please do second level, third level verification. That's why you'll find some transactions you got to do more. Not just a face ID, and then sometimes they may say, okay, it really doesn't sound like you.
Too many process sometimes.
Too many process sometimes, right? But it's because behavioral, with AI-based behavioral, it may not look like you, right? So then it prompts the banks to do more. To hopefully protect more, right? So if you lost your phone, you dropped your phone and someone else uses it. So there are a lot of things behind the scenes. And so for us, we spend literally, again, billions of dollars in cybersecurity. And our security goes beyond transactions. So we keep, improving to the point that actually our cybersecurity solutions are used not just only by the banks, but by government.
What trends or what latest development that you are looking at?
Okay, so for us, it's always still around transactions and verification, right? So our cybersecurity revolves around, because as we say, if we start to do cybersecurity, there are many elements. If we start to touch anything, there are many elements.
Yes.
Again, as a company, we are a payment technology company, so we are very, again, focused around the transaction. But around the transaction now actually has many facets, including authentication. Are you who you are, right? And that's what I talked about earlier when I said, the way you hold your phone, right? Even though your face may be you, right? And like you say, with deepfake and a lot of other technology, I can't even keep track, right? There's a lot of stuff out there, and I've seen some of this stuff. Like, you just create a mask, and it looks like you. Like, people can create a mask that looks like you, and it will pass through certain verification, and that's very scary, right? So we have to keep evolving and enabling and moving ahead so that, it from static to dynamic, right? So we talk about face verification, and we now talk about iris verification, we talk about palm verification. So as you do more and more, right, we will have to continue to do more and more, be it at point of sale or at digital. So number one is authentication. Are you who you are, right? If you are who you are, then the second phase is, did you do this transaction, right?
Right.
And is this transaction really you, or is it an attack, right? So then we have security like, you usually do, making this up, 2 transactions a day, right? Suddenly you had 5 transactions in the last 5 minutes, right? So before, sometimes the banks can or cannot react. Mastercard may also do a block, right? So again, we are helping banks and we are working with banks. So there are things that prompt it and go, and because we see trends not just of the bank, not just of Thailand, but also of the world. So we actually help to stop a lot of cyber attacks on the banks behind the scene. So when we see irregular transactions on the banks, right? So because at individual level, yes, one track. But on the bank level, if we have never seen so high transaction in the bank before in a period, and suddenly we have that, it must be something that we cut off, right? We'd rather cut it off. Right? And we work with the banks on this one, right? And then we give the prompter to the banks. So behind the scenes, there's also a lot of verification that happens. But more importantly, is balancing the need to do this back end, but consumers cannot be so confused, right? We need to make sure that consumers just go about their daily life as much as possible, be very, very, very aware not to click on certain links, not to do certain things, right? Not to just simply transfer payment, so be aware of that. But on the other hand, we also work behind the scenes to protect. So hand in hand, we have to come together. It's a very complex, because there's too much money out there, right?
We have to work together.
Literally, it'll be hundreds of billions of dollars over the next few years that's going to be lost.
Right.
On fraud.
Yes. I'm not sure that you have heard of Thailand Scam City, something like that.
Yeah.
Right now, it's happening right now, and
Yes.
government, very serious about this issue, and they try to solve these problems.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that. Do you have any recommendations, or can Mastercard help Thailand as this issue?
Yeah, so I think there are many different facets. I think the scams are a bit difficult. One area that we are looking at with a lot of governments is also the transaction flow. Especially on account to account. It's so easy for me to transfer to you, or I pretend to be somebody and then you transfer some money to me, and then within like 3 minutes you realize, oh, I shouldn't have transferred to you. What do I do, right? Today, honestly, you can go to the bank, but it's on best case scenario, right? Because again, we see the network, right? So in UK, for example, because we also power the account-to-account network, we actually see from a total network basis where that money flows. So after you flow to me, I transfer to someone's account, because they want to hide the money, right? So it flows to multiple accounts, and some of them are, for example, mule accounts. Right? And then they pay some money to somebody and say, can I use your account? And then you receive a lot of money. This person gets in trouble, but they moved off. So there are many variations to that. So we are trying to provide a more network view so that even if you transfer from one to another, before they transfer out of Thailand, what can we do, right? And where is this money? So that's what we're doing in UK. So we're in discussion to see, if something like that. Something that can help the people and here. Because, again, many facets to this.
Right.
We also work very closely with law enforcement officers.
In Thailand?
In Thailand,
Okay.
So when there's any, frauds, and then they get, some cards, and then they send to us, then we will obviously provide details of transactions. And also we definitely, collaborate and we support the government's efforts in clamping down. So too many parties that needs to come together, but it is a very complex, as you can imagine. But I think first and foremost, the people must be very, very aware.
Right.
I think, and the government is really doing a lot, I know, to drive some awareness. But, still, even though you think you're aware, somewhere they will always,
Agree. Totally
find it.
agree. It's a global risk.
Yes, it's a global risk,
that
right? Yeah.
everyone is facing.
Yes.
So, but on the other side, I think we have talked a lot about negative side of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
But in contrast to that, the positive side,
Yes.
I think, there's a lot of debate about AI implications. So many buzzwords. I want to know your key takeaway. What's your thought on AI?
So we definitely embrace AI. Mastercard definitely embraces AI. In fact, our cybersecurity solutions that I mentioned earlier, the way you use your phone, or even tracking your behavior, tracking your historical and the trends, be it individual trends or the bank's trends or the country trends, all of these are AI-based. So there's huge benefit to using AI in the right way, right? That helps you prevent the scams or frauds, right? Or to call out or to say, this is a possibility, right, of scams. So we definitely use AI in that manner, hopefully in positivity to prevent scams, right? The other way is also to serve customers better. I mean, chatbots, knowing who you are, customized programs, customized offers. If I like to eat, I definitely will be more susceptible to dining offers. If you tell me, oh, there's a dining offer here, right? I'll be like, oh yeah, And if you see my transactions, like I like to eat in this kind of food or this kind of places, then you can use it to make it more customized to me, right? Or if I love to travel, then you send. Because if I don't like certain things, they keep sending me, I'm sure you'll receive a lot of messages from all over asking you to do this, do that, shop here, shop there. But I would say a lot of it is probably, you don't know me, but you're just mail blasting it out or sending it out, not mail, not necessarily mail, but online or everything, But if we can use the data and AI to say, based on, your historical trend, you have done this, you had spent there, you had bought this, right? And when you form the picture of a person or a lookalike, then I said, maybe, the next thing is this, right? So if I had bought milk powder and a new washing machine, and kids' clothes, right? Then I think, maybe she's a new mother, right? So stuff like this, right? So maybe if you put it together, you get a trend, right? If I had bought, sports shoes, if I had bought, protein powder, right? And I had bought, and I signed up for a marathon. Definitely a fitness freak, right? So what can we give more, right? And I'm working with more partners to encourage and to give more focused offers, like healthier offers. So then you send more, even if it's a dining, you send healthier dining offers than others, right? So these are how AI can be used more positively so that you can cut through the clutter and reach me as me. And I will appreciate it because then I will say, oh my God, that's a great offer. Yeah, oh, I didn't know this thing existed. Oh, I didn't know there's such a new product in the market. I was looking for that. I didn't know. I was thinking of this problem, but I didn't know, right, there was a product. So, AI can be used very positively to really, enrich your life.
Interesting. But I think the use cases that you are mentioned earlier is previous AI, I mean predictive AI or machine learning and deep learning. But right now we are in the era of generative AI.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just returned from Davos and
Oh, you were in Davos?
Yeah, many entrepreneurs and CEOs and leaders are discussing about the full impact of Gen AI. I mean the latest development, O1, O3, or maybe DeepSeek from China, I don't know. But tell us more about the new use case, the new best practice from Mastercard, because you are one of the largest, financial company in the world. So I think you stay ahead of us.
So honestly, when we look at technology, be it even blockchain and then now AI and Gen AI, we always think about the applicability and how will it affect our business and our ecosystem. And that's why a lot of these examples, it is AI, but within that there are also Gen AI that we're also using more and more, especially in understanding the consumers, right, in what they do, right, the trends and So it's within the underlying is where we would have evolved, but the use case we see will not go very far because it's still about the consumer and the experience. It is still about keeping the ecosystem safe, the payment ecosystem safe, right? And it's about making sure that the data, right, is being used and analyzed and, used prudently, analyzed, and how does the data bring benefit to government, to the banks, to the people, to the business, right? I'm sure more will come. We are about enabling everyday payment. We are about enabling how you pay, when you want to pay, anytime that I mentioned earlier, right? And you trust the system, right? And within that trust is stability. You need to know that when I went to the merchant to eat, it looks like my bowl of noodle was, 200 baht, right? And when I leave, I want to pay 200 baht. And that currency, the underlying currency is stable, right? It cannot be that, I went in there to eat, it was 200 baht, but because it was fluctuation, by the time I left was 250 baht equivalent, right? Or the merchant, the restaurant going, okay, you came in at 200 baht, but when you left, it was 150 baht, right? So stability is very important. So we use AI, blockchains, and all this technology to enhance how we do business, not necessarily as the final payment tool, if you see the difference, right? So not from a speculative and a trading perspective, but more from an everyday, because we need that stability. We do trillions of transactions, amount of dollars, right? And in billions of transactions, in the number of transactions, right? So we cannot have too much instability. It will create chaos in Thailand and across. So having said that, right, so we do support even like stable coins, and wherever jurisdiction allows, we actually partner with them, right? Because in other countries, we have launched programs with some stable coins and all, where you may have a stable coin, but when you need to convert out to fiat currency, we are there, right? Because then how do I transact? How do I, in a way, come back out to the system, right? Yes, when I want to transact with you, it's fine. But I want to spend at the merchant. Not every merchant accepts this. So how do we bridge that? So we are focusing more from that part, right, to making sure that how do we bridge an everyday life with all of all this innovation that come in a, again, simple, trusted, stable manner, that so that, whether your currency fluctuates or not, but at the point of transaction and the contract and all, you know exactly what you're getting, right? And then the merchant knows exactly what you're getting at that point, right? And it's stable, everybody receives their payment, no issues, and if there are any issues, you know where to go to, right? That's the role we play. So we highly encourage actually governments to do innovation and look at sandboxes. We also have our global colleagues who are very much speaking to governments to advise and talk about this. But more importantly, how can we bring stability and best practices that we have seen in other parts of the world and share it with the governments to create a safe and secured sandbox. So some transactions may not be, I don't know enough about it. I've asked more about this, so I would love to understand more about the Phuket sandbox. I did see that news. As we explore it, hopefully maybe there's a role, maybe there isn't a role in Mastercard, because sometimes in trading and all, it may or may not be something that we play in. But once you've made your money and you want to convert out to the fiat currency, you want to convert out to Thai baht, this is where we can play that bridge in there. Yeah.
So how do you see the future of money? I mean, would it be possible for us to use a stable coin for, payment transaction in the future?
Okay.
Are you considering this as I would say, multiple futures?
Yes.
It can be.
It can be. We definitely think that is a possibility. But obviously, there are a lot of factors that need to come into play. Obviously, the government's involvement is very, very critical, right? There are a lot of governments going into CBDC already, right? So we definitely want to keep abreast of what the government is doing and working hand in hand with the government. I think the possibility is definitely there, but like I said, many parties need to come to the table. It's not just about Mastercard or even the government. We share best practices. We also share technology. Because at the end of the day, we're a technology company, right? So for us, whatever currency you want, there's an underlying technology, right? So what is that technology, right? And even if one government creates this technology, but then there are other, 200 plus governments around the world, right? So then again, about connectivity, right? If you create this, but then how does your people or you work with the rest of the world who is not on this, right? So again, I think we still continue to have our roles to play in the whole connectivity and making it an everyday that a normal consumer on the street can understand. So I think the gap is still quite big. So there's development here, very futuristic, very cutting edge. But then how do we translate down to the last person on the street? There's a huge runway, right? And there's a huge partnership that can come with us and many ecosystem partners, right? To make sure that you and I know what it is, and the next person, the next seller on the street understands what this is. It's a huge runway. Yeah. So we still don't know yet. I think there's a lot of things in discussion in brewing, in technology. So until we see it really happening, then we'll see what does that mean for. Is it a lot of use cases and test cases, right? But until you and I can now transact and buy coffee, it's a very different thing. So again, it's evolving very quickly. But yeah, we're definitely in constant conversation on this.
That's why you are interested in tourism industry.
Yes.
I just read a report. I mean, last year, maybe 2024, from Mastercard Economic Institute, right?
Yes, that's right.
That's right. And tell me more about, Thailand tourism, or what are you looking at?
So Thailand obviously has been on the forefront of tourism. I think the Thai Tourism Authority is very proactive and does a lot. And I think last year was a great year. I think we had like 35.2 million tourists, if I remember correctly. And this year, obviously, we're targeting close to 40, if not 40 million, right? So tourists come in, there are a lot of experiences, and everybody wants to bring the best of Thailand to tourists. Where we think we play a role is, of course, in the whole payment part, right? They are coming in, they have to spend. How are they spending, and in what form, and how can they spend more, right? Because if it's very cash-based, if I only have X baht in my wallet, I'll only be very limited to what I can spend, right? But if you make it more seamless, right, and not just only making them spend more, but really have a feel-good factor about coming back to Thailand. I had a great experience. Everything was seamless. See, the thing about tourism, even as us as tourists, right, if you had a negative thing to your trip, you're like, you remember that, right? Be it, you got cheated, or you got stuck without money, or, someone advertised that experience, but then it wasn't that. It makes a mark to your experience, right? So hopefully, one of the areas we try to reduce the mark is on payment, right? If you can make the payment flow more seamlessly, right? If they can just tap and go, tap and go, tap and go, or scan and go, scan and go, scan and go, anywhere without thinking, oh my gosh, I have my last 500 baht in my wallet. So let me think I can order this one, but I cannot have my drink because then, I won't have enough to pay. That's not a great experience, right? So we want to make sure that, they feel, but I love this dish. Okay, let me still order it, right? So that's where we're coming from. So we're seeing tourists coming in. Most of the spend is still on hotels, obviously, right? But then we are seeing also more dining and shopping coming in, especially in Bangkok. And now we're also looking, to see how, obviously growing in other cities here. So we are seeing the growth in spend, in tourist spend that came in last year. So hopefully we'll continue to see positive growth this year.
But Mastercard has many operations across the world, in many countries. What makes Thailand so unique, and what specific initiative or project are you working on to promote Thailand's tourism?
That's a great point. So again, from our data, we see which are some of the key countries that are coming in. So around this region, Singapore comes in, Malaysia comes in, right? So Vietnam is also a growing trend into Thailand. Then we are also seeing growth of Indian and Chinese tourists. We are also seeing more and more Middle Eastern tourists. Obviously, it's a lot of factors, right? Of course, direct flights, tours, and all of this play a factor, right? But we are seeing this in the spend. So with the spend, we know who is coming in, right? At least from which countries they are coming in. So we also then want to work, and we do work very closely with partners and of course, tourism authorities and players to say, hey, as we are promoting, because for us, we have cardholders from all over the world. So if you're talking about like Singapore cardholders, Vietnam, China, India cardholders, right? We are also very proactive in working with my colleagues in the other part of the country, right? And say, hey, so we put like Thailand tourism packages, and then we say, please promote to your cardholders to come to Thailand.
Oh, nice.
Right? So we also know, for example, if this cardholder had gone to, some other place versus Thailand, and then you're like, why not, target this person to come to Thailand because we offer similar things, right?
Okay.
So again, right, we can talk about, promoting and be more targeted in saying, I saw that you came to Southeast Asia. I saw that you went to Maldives, right? Please come Thailand. We have beautiful beaches and islands, right? So again, very targeted in how we are talking to them, right? So because we have, like I said, card holders and data around the world. So we can work on programs like this to attract them to Thailand.
Wow,
Yeah.
please keep doing that.
Yes.
It's so important for Thailand.
And then we also, from our data, we know which country is coming at which time. It's seasonal, right?
Right.
When it's a holiday, when are the Chinese coming? When are the Indians coming? Are they coming here for, again, tour group or like weddings? Like, do we target the weddings? Because Indian weddings are like 3-5 days, right? Can, Thailand be a destination?
Right.
And so there are many things we can slice and dice to bring in more tourism into Thailand.
Okay, last but not least, what excites you most about the future of Mastercard or the future of digital payment, of fintech, something like that?
I think what excites me most is just the possibilities and opportunities. So I like to see, every problem as an opportunity because it's something that is not doing well or we're having an issue or certain challenges, right? Yes, it's a challenge, but behind that is always an opportunity. So if there are a lot of frauds and scams, for example, right, we talked a lot about that. But it's also an opportunity, right? The more we can develop an AI-based, Gen AI-based solution, the more we can work together, the more we can curb it, right? There's more transactions for us, right? And more solutions and transactions for us, right? More tourists coming in, more transactions for us and the country, right? So I think what excites me is that looking at a problem and solving it together. Together means whoever other parties, right? It's not just Mastercard alone. I never believed that we can solve it alone. So I'm definitely very open to partnerships, ecosystem partners, and really, right, looking at what we can do better. And at the end of the day, if you can get a consumer to feel very comforted and very confident, of using cashless payment, I think we would have done a large part of our job. So I think definitely the opportunities, and Thailand presents a lot of opportunity. PromptPay, as you already know, has been growing by leaps and bounds. But how do we make it even more? How do we go to different sector? Or how do we even keep it even safer, for example, right? So that there may be even more that can be done, right? Tourists coming in, right? How do we then get more of them to be even on cashless so that we reduce cash from the ecosystem as much as possible because then there's also, other things that happens with cash, right? So again, I think what excites me is the opportunities and being here, being in Thailand, in Bangkok, I think, the Thais and the country has been very, very welcoming, very warm. And I just look forward to, doing more here with everyone.
Yeah, last question is my personal question. You have been at Mastercard for 12 years. I think, what is your, favorite things in this company? I mean, the culture, the people,
Yes.
the leadership, or maybe, what else?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So why I stay 12 years? If you see the 12 years, I actually did quite different roles or different countries, right? I did commercial payment and then Vietnam and then here, right? Vietnam last converter and here. I think even though I am 12 years in the company, I don't feel like I'm doing 12 years in one job. I feel that I have done 3 very different jobs. And within that, because the company keeps evolving, and we talked about that, right, from card payment to now, account to account to cybersecurity, I keep have to learn new things, right? So I don't feel like, so what I did, on my first day or first 3 months of 12 years and what I did today, wow, it's really worlds apart from what I have done there and here. and I keep evolving. So I feel that I keep learning. So it's never, I think when you feel stuck in your job or like, oh, it's too boring, too mundane, that's when you think, oh, I need to leave, right? But when a company keeps giving you opportunities to learn and opportunities to grow and move and all, right? And keeps grooming you. I think that's a great, opportunity for me. The other thing is what I like about Mastercard is that we really drive a lot of focus also on women and women leadership and women empowerment. And so, I'm a beneficiary of that, right? A lot of, even when I first joined, a lot of leaders, spoke to us and say, women, please, lift up your hand, do more, be, go for that role, you can do it. There's a lot of encouragement, right, for women to forge ahead, right? Because women are very hesitant. If I feel a bit not so confident, oh, I won't take that role. No, I don't think so. But there's a lot of encouragement from senior across the board, right, to do that. And so now in my role, I do the same, right, to a lot of the younger women, right? So we internally and externally, we do a lot of women's workshops. We do mentorships and also male allies, because it's not just about the women, right? The men have to be supportive, right? So we do a lot of that. So that's what I love about also being able to give back and grow within this company. So I think me personally keep growing, and I think being able to contribute back to overall, right, the company growth. Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
you so
you.
much for taking the time to speak with me.
Thank you so much for your time. ขอบคุณค่ะ.
ขอบคุณครับ.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure.
Yes, thank you.